The big Imperial warship moved through the darkness of space. Its engines made a deep humming sound as it traveled between the stars. Commander Tay stood on the bridge, looking at the blue screens that showed maps and data. The light from these screens lit up his face. Tay had been a soldier for 30 years, and those years had made him into the perfect Imperial officer, strict, loyal, and without mercy. "Sir, we have picked up a distress call from Sector 7, said Lieutenant Han. His fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "It seems to be from a ship that is not in our records." Tay narrowed his eyes. Sector 7 was a restricted area that served as a buffer between Imperial territory and the newly found human expansion zones. The peace treaty that both sides had signed made this a neutral area, but both the Empire and the humans sent ships there to watch each other. "Show me," Tay ordered. The main screen turned on, showing a small transport ship floating among the stars. Its outer shell had burn marks from weapons, and broken pieces of metal floated around it like a scattered halo. "Are there any living beings on board?" Tay asked. "One, sir. The life sign is weak. We cannot tell what species it is." Tay thought about what to do next. The Empire had clear rules about unknown species. Check if they might be dangerous, and, if you are not sure, kill them. Humans had shown themselves to be unpredictable allies since first contact 7 years ago. The Emperor himself had signed a secret order. No new species were to be brought into the Empire without careful study. Those that might cause problems were to be killed. "Get a team ready to board that ship," Tay decided. "I want the ship searched and the survivor contained. Use full safety measures." As the boarding shuttle left, Tay turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to Central Command. Tell them we have found an unknown life form in neutral space and are following standard containment steps." What he did not say was that standard containment steps usually ended with killing the subject. It was simpler that way, cleaner. The Empire had kept stability for 3,000 years by being careful with new factors in their world. On the damaged transport ship, hidden in a nest made of wires and torn padding, a small figure shook with fear. It was alone, hurt, and afraid. It was the last one of its kind. Meanwhile, on a human ship called HMS Resilience, Medical Officer Ji Young Kim was checking her supplies. She had never wanted to work on a military ship. She had trained as a doctor on Earth, focusing on the study of alien biology. She had dreamed of peaceful work with alien species, but when the Galactic Empire had made contact with humans 7 years ago, everything changed. The tensions and fragile alliance that followed meant specialists like her had to serve on military ships. So here she was, stationed on a human diplomatic military vessel that patrolled the edges of neutral space. Her medical bay was clean and neat, with all equipment organized perfectly, her small way of fighting against the chaos of military life. "Dr. Kim to the bridge. Urgent priority," the ship's speaker system announced, interrupting her work. When she arrived on the bridge, Captain Wu was looking at footage from their long-range scanners. "Doctor," he said without looking up, "we have spotted an Imperial warship in neutral space. They have approached a damaged transport ship and sent a team on board." "That is not unusual," Ji Young said. "Why do you need me?" Captain Wu pointed to the readings on his screen. "Because before they blocked communications, we caught part of a message to their command. They have found a survivor of an unknown species, and based on what we know about Imperial rules, they will kill it," Ji Young finished, feeling sick to her stomach. Everyone knew the Empire did not like other species. "Exactly. We are sending a diplomatic team to step in. As our alien biology expert, you are going with them." 2 hours later, Ji Young sat in a shuttle approaching the massive Imperial warship. Her heart beat fast as she reviewed diplomatic rules on her tablet. Humans had gained a reputation for being unpredictable defenders of less powerful species, something the Empire found both interesting and deeply troubling. The Imperial boarding officer, a tall, serious woman named Lieutenant Song, greeted them with barely hidden dislike. "The commander has allowed your request to observe our procedures," she said stiffly. "However, this is an Imperial matter. You are here only to watch." Ji Young followed the Imperial escort through the shining corridors. She noticed how plain and functional everything was. Nothing was wasted on comfort. When they reached the quarantine area, Ji Young immediately saw the containment chamber. Inside, huddled in the corner, was a small creature that looked somewhat like a reptile, about the size of a human child. Its scaled skin shimmered with rainbow-like patterns that seemed to move and pulse. Multiple eyes blinked from a face that somehow showed fear despite being so different from human faces. "Species unknown," stated the Imperial Medical Officer Jun. "No match in our records. It appears to be young, injured, and the only survivor from its ship." "What will happen to it?" Ji Young asked, though she already knew the answer. Jun's face remained empty of emotion. "Commander Tay has ordered standard protocol for unclassified species. After examination, it will be humanely killed. The Empire cannot risk bringing in potentially hostile elements." Ji Young felt a cold anger rise inside her. She had not come all this way to watch an execution. "I request permission to examine the being. My specialization in alien biology might provide insights your records do not have." Lieutenant Song started to refuse, but the Imperial Medical Officer Jun unexpectedly spoke up. "The commander did authorize full scientific investigation before final procedures. Another viewpoint could be valuable." As Ji Young approached the containment chamber, the creature pressed itself further into the corner, shaking violently. She noticed patches of dried fluid on its scales, probably blood. It was injured, frightened, and alone. In that moment, Ji Young made a decision that would change everything. She would not let this creature die. Not while she still had breath in her body. Not while she could still fight. She looked at the small being with its multiple frightened eyes, and something inside her shifted. This was why she had become a doctor. This was what it meant to be human. "I need my medical kit," she said firmly, turning to Jun. "And I need this containment field lowered." Lieutenant Song stepped forward. "That is against protocol." Ji Young met her eyes steadily. "Then change the protocol. Because I am not going to stand here and watch you murder a child." The standoff had begun. And in that sterile Imperial room, surrounded by the cold efficiency of an empire that had lasted 3,000 years, a human doctor prepared to defy an entire civilization for the sake of one small, frightened life. Lieutenant Song stared at Ji Young with cold eyes. "Lower the containment field? That would break at least 7 Imperial safety rules." "Then break them," Ji Young said firmly. "Or let me speak to Commander Tay directly." An uneasy silence filled the room. The small alien creature watched them with its multiple eyes, still trembling in the corner of the containment chamber. Medical Officer Jun stepped closer to Ji Young and spoke in a low voice. "The commander will not change his mind. He follows the Empire's rules without question." "Then help me," Ji Young whispered back. "You are a doctor first, aren't you? Before you are an Imperial officer?" Jun's face showed a brief moment of conflict before returning to its careful blank expression. He looked at the creature, then at his medical screens. "Its body temperature is dropping," he noted. "The containment field maintains a standard atmosphere, but this species clearly needs more warmth." Lieutenant Song frowned. "Adjust the field settings, then." "That would require authorization from the Science Division," Jun replied. "By the time we get it, the subject may be too weak for proper study." Ji Young saw her chance. "I have thermal blankets in my medical kit. They're designed for multiple species. It would stabilize the subject until proper adjustments can be made." "So I hesitated, then nodded curtly. "Fine. You may use your equipment, but the field stays up." Ji Young opened her medical kit and took out her emergency thermal blanket. It was silver on one side and deep blue on the other, with the Human Medical Corps symbol in the corner. She approached the containment field and looked for the small transfer slot used to pass items inside. The slot was tiny, barely big enough for the folded blanket. As Ji Young pushed it through, she realized she would not be able to properly place the blanket around the creature. It would have to take it itself. "Can it understand us?" she asked Jun. "Unknown. No communication attempts have been successful." Ji-young turned her attention to the frightened alien. She knelt down to be at its eye level and smiled gently. Then she pointed to the blanket and mimed wrapping it around herself. "It's for warmth," she said softly. "It will help you feel better." The creature stared at her with its blinking eyes. For a long moment, it didn't move. Then slowly, it extended one of its limbs. Ji-young noticed it had 6 fingers, each tipped, with a small suction cup. The limb was thin and delicate, with the same shimmering scales as the rest of its body. It touched the blanket cautiously, then pulled back. It made a soft chirping sound. Ji-young continued to smile encouragingly. "It's okay. It's for you." Lieutenant Song sighed impatiently. "This is a waste of time it doesn't understand." But just as she spoke, the creature darted forward and grabbed the blanket. With surprising speed, it retreated to its corner and wrapped the thermal material around itself, leaving only its face exposed. "See?" Ji-young said, unable to hide her satisfaction. It understood perfectly. Jun was checking his monitors. "Body temperature is already stabilizing." He turned to Lieutenant Song. "We should inform the commander that the subject is responding to treatment." "Treatment?" Song's voice was sharp. "This is supposed to be examination only, not medical care." "Proper examination requires a stable subject," Jun replied smoothly. "Otherwise our readings will be flawed." While they argued, Ji-young stayed, kneeling by the containment field. The creature was watching her intently. Its shivering had stopped, and the rainbow patterns on its visible scales now pulsed in a slower, more regular rhythm. Ji-young reached up and touched her own face. Then, pointed to herself. "Ji-young," she said clearly. The creature tilted its head. It made another chirping sound, higher pitched than before. "Ji-young," she repeated, pointing to herself again. To her amazement, the creature raised one of its 6-fingered hands and pointed at her. It made a sound that wasn't quite Ji-young, but was surprisingly close. Lieutenant Song and Jun had stopped arguing and were watching this exchange with shock. "It's mimicking," Jun said quietly. "Vocal mimicry indicates high intelligence." "Or, just copying sounds like a bird," Song countered, but she sounded uncertain. Ji-young pointed to the creature. "What about you? Do you have a name?" The creature only blinked its multiple eyes in response. "Then I'll give you one," Ji-young decided. She thought for a moment. "Minju. It means bright and gentle in my language. You are naming an imperial." "Research subject?" Song's voice was incredulous. "Naming helps establish trust," Ji-young said without taking her eyes off the creature. "Minju," she repeated, pointing at the alien. The creature chirped again, a sound that somehow conveyed curiosity. It tightened the blanket around itself and shuffled forward, closer to Ji-young. "Look at that," Jun said, his professional mask slipping to reveal genuine interest. "It recognizes that you're trying to communicate." At that moment, the door to the medical bay slid open with a hiss. Commander Tae walked in, his face stern. The room immediately fell silent. "Report," he ordered. Lieutenant Song stepped forward. "Sir, the human doctor has been attempting communication with the subject. She has also provided it with one of their thermal blankets to stabilize its body temperature." Tae's cold eyes moved from Song to Ji-young, who was still kneeling by the containment field. "Is that so? And what prompted these unauthorized actions, Doctor?" Ji-young stood up, meeting his gaze without flinching. "Medical necessity. The subject, Minju." The creature suddenly chirped from behind her. Everyone froze. The sound was clear, almost perfectly matching Ji-young's pronunciation. Commander Tae's eyes widened slightly. The first real emotion Ji-young had seen on his face. "It speaks?" "It's mimicking," Jun explained quickly. "But the vocal control required suggests high intelligence." Tae studied the creature, Minju, with new intensity. "Interesting. This changes the examination protocols." He turned to Ji-young. "Your medical knowledge may be useful after all, Doctor. You may continue your work under strict supervision." As he turned to leave, he added coldly, But do not mistake this for a change in final procedure. The Empire's security protocols remain in effect. Once the commander left, Ji-young returned her attention to Minju. The creature had moved right up to the edge of the containment field, as close to Ji-young as it could get. It held the blanket tight around itself. Minju, it said again. This time pointing to itself with one six-fingered hand. Ji-young felt something catch in her throat. She didn't care what the Empire's protocols said. This was a person, a scared, intelligent person far from home. And she was going to save her. Yes, she said softly. Minju. Lieutenant Song was speaking quietly to Jun. The commander will report this to Imperial High Command. They will send specialists. How long will that take? Jun asked. At least 3 days. 3 days, Ji-young thought. That was how long she had to figure out how to save Minju from the Empire that had ordered her death. As if sensing her thoughts, Minju pressed one six-fingered hand against the containment field. On the other side, Ji-young placed her own 5-fingered hand, lining it up with Minju's. I won't let them hurt you, she whispered. I promise. Behind her, Jun was watching with a troubled expression. For the first time in his career, an Imperial medical officer found himself hoping that someone would break the Empire's rules. The next morning, Ji-young arrived early at the medical bay. She had barely slept, her mind racing with plans and worries. When she entered, she found Jun already there, studying readings on his medical screen. You're early, he said without looking up. So are you, Ji-young replied. She moved to the containment field where Minju was sleeping, still wrapped in the thermal blanket. How is she? Better. Body temperature has stabilized. Internal injuries are healing faster than expected. Jun finally looked at Ji-young. Commander, Tae has approved a full medical examination. He wants to know everything about this species before the specialists arrive. Ji-young nodded, understanding what wasn't being said. The Empire wanted to know if Minju's kind could be a threat. When do we start? Now, Jun said, but there's something else. He lowered his voice. Lieutenant Song has been replaced. The commander felt she was too lenient. Ji-young felt a chill. Who's in charge now? Officer Kang. He follows rules exactly. Jun's expression was carefully blank, but his eyes held a warning. Just then the door slid open and Officer Kang walked in. He was shorter than Song, but somehow more intimidating, with a face that seemed permanently set in a frown. Dr. Kim, he said coldly. You will assist with the examination but will not interfere with Imperial procedures. Is that clear? Yes, Ji-young said, knowing agreement was her only option for now. Minju had woken up and was watching them with all her eyes. She still held the blanket close around her body. Ji-young, she chirped, her voice stronger than yesterday. Ji-young smiled, despite herself. Good morning, Minju. Kang's frown deepened. The subject will be referred to by its designation, Unknown Species 7B. She already has a name, Ji-young said. Names are for people and recognized sentient species, Kang replied. This is neither, yet Ji-young bit back her anger. Fighting now would only make things worse. What examination procedures do you want to start with? Jun stepped in smoothly. I suggest we begin with basic biological readings, then proceed to cognitive testing. Kang nodded. Proceed. For the next 2 hours, they ran tests. They took scans of Minju's internal organs. They recorded the patterns of her scales. They tested her blood and tissue samples. Through it all, Minju remained surprisingly calm, especially when Ji-young was near. Her biology is fascinating, Jun said as he studied the results. The organ structure suggests adaptation capabilities far beyond any known species. And look at this brain scan. The image showed Minju's brain lighting up with activity, complex patterns shifting and changing even as they watched. Neural pathways are forming in real time, Ji-young observed. She's learning constantly. Kang looked unsettled by this information. The commander will want to see this. When he left to report to Tae, Ji-young turned to Jun. We need to start cognitive testing. Before he comes back, I want to show how intelligent she really is. Jun hesitated, then nodded. I'll set up the basic tests. Ji Young approached the containment field. Minju, we're going to play some games. Would you like that? Minju tilted her head. Games? Yes, games to show how smart you are. Ji Young pointed to the small table Jun was setting up inside the containment field through a larger transfer port. On it were simple puzzles and pattern recognition tests. Minju approached cautiously, still keeping the blanket wrapped around her. Look, Ji Young explained, pointing to the first puzzle. Match the shapes. Minju studied the puzzle for a moment, then reached out with her six-fingered hand. With surprising dexterity, she quickly matched each shape to its correct place. Good. Ji Young smiled. Now try this one. The second puzzle was harder, involving patterns and sequences. Minju solved it even faster. Jun was recording everything. This is well beyond basic intelligence. She's solving these faster than most Imperial cadets. They moved through increasingly difficult puzzles. Minju solved them all, her speed increasing with each one. By the time they reached the final test, a complex three-dimensional puzzle that most humans would struggle with, Minju was solving it almost as soon as it was presented. Ji Young, Minju said when she finished the last puzzle. More? That's all for now, Ji Young replied, amazed. You did wonderfully. The door opened again and Commander Tay entered with Officer Kang. Show me these results, Tay ordered. Jun displayed the testing data on the main screen. As you can see, sir, the subject shows remarkably high intelligence. Its problem-solving abilities exceed our standard metrics. Tay studied the screen with a tight expression. The High Command will find this concerning. High intelligence combined with those adaptive biological capabilities could pose a significant threat, or a significant ally, Ji Young countered. Minju has shown no aggressive tendencies, only curiosity and a desire to learn. Minju? Tay raised an eyebrow. You continue to name the subject. Because she is a person, Ji Young insisted. A person who deserves rights and protection, not execution. Tay's cold eyes fixed on Ji Young. Your emotional attachment is clouding your judgment, Doctor. This is precisely why humans are considered unstable allies. Is compassion instability? Ji Young asked. Is seeing value in life other than your own a weakness? The room fell silent. Even Officer Kang seemed uncomfortable. Finally, Tay spoke. You have 24 hours to complete your examinations. Then the subject will be transported to Imperial headquarters. That decision is final. After he and Kang left, Jun turned to Ji Young. You shouldn't challenge him like that. What choice do I have? Ji Young ran a hand through her hair in frustration. They're going to kill her, Jun. You know that. Jun didn't deny it. The specialists from Central Command will arrive tomorrow. Once they take possession of the subject, there's nothing anyone can do. Ji Young looked at Minju, who was watching them intently through the containment field. Those multiple eyes seemed to understand more than they should. Ji Young sad? Minju asked suddenly. The simple question caught Ji Young off guard. Yes, Minju. I'm sad because I'm worried about you. Minju pressed her hand against the containment field. No sad Minju here. Ji Young felt tears threatening. This creature, this person had learned so much in just a day. What might she become with time and care? Jun, she said quietly. I can't let them take her. Jun looked at her sharply. What are you saying? You know what I'm saying. Ji Young met his eyes. Will you help us? Jun looked at Minju, then back at Ji Young. His whole career, his life in the Empire, everything he knew, all of it would be at risk. The night shift starts at 2200 hours, he said finally. Kang will be replaced by Officer Lee, who takes a meal break at precisely 23:30. The security cameras in this section run on a separate system from the main ship. I have access codes. Ji Young stared at him. Why would you risk this? Jun was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Because I became a doctor to save lives, not end them. And because some rules should be broken. He turned away, pretending to check his monitors. I'll prepare a medical kit for you. The rest is up to you. Ji-young looked back at Minju, who was still watching them with her intelligent eyes. "Tonight," she whispered. "We're leaving tonight." Behind her, Jun spoke so quietly she almost didn't hear him. "There's an emergency evacuation pod in Section 4B. It's designed for medical evacuations. The access codes change daily. I'll make sure you have today's code." Ji-young nodded, hope rising in her chest for the first time since she'd boarded this cold Imperial ship. Tonight they would escape or die trying. Minju chirped softly from her containment field. "Ji-young and Minju. Go?" "Yes," Ji-young whispered. "We go." The hours passed slowly. Ji-young tried to act normal as she continued to work with Minju, teaching her more words and running simple tests that would not tire her too much. They needed to save their energy for tonight. At 2100 hours, Jun approached. "Young. My shift ends soon," he said in a normal voice loud enough for anyone listening to hear. Then he handed her a medical tablet. "These are the latest test results. Please review them before tomorrow." Ji-young took the tablet. Hidden beneath it was a small access card and a piece of paper with numbers written on it. She slipped both into her pocket without looking at them. "Thank you," she said. "I'll see you in the morning." Jun nodded, his face expressionless, but his eyes held a clear message. "Good luck." After he left, Officer Kang checked his watch. "Officer Lee will arrive soon to relieve me. You should return to your quarters, Doctor." "I'd like to stay a bit longer," Ji-young said. "I want to finish analyzing these results." Kang frowned but didn't argue. "As you wish, but you cannot be alone with the subject. Those are the commander's orders." At precisely 2200 hours, Officer Lee arrived. He was younger than Kang, with a somewhat softer face. He nodded to Ji-young as Kang briefed him, then took his position by the door. Ji-young continued to work, occasionally glancing at Minju. The alien was sitting quietly in her containment field, still wrapped in the thermal blanket, but her eyes were alert, watching everything. Time ticked by. Ji-young's heart beat faster as 2330 approached. What if Officer Lee didn't take his break? What if Jun's access codes didn't work? At 2325, Officer Lee cleared his throat. "Doctor, I need to take my meal break. Will you be all right alone for 30 minutes? Ji-young tried to keep her voice steady. "Of course. The subject is secure in the containment field," Lee continued. "But if there's any problem, use the emergency call button." "I understand." Lee nodded and left the medical bay. As soon as the door closed behind him, Ji-young jumped to her feet. She had 30 minutes at most. "Minju," she said quickly, "we're leaving now. Do you understand?" Minju stood up, still holding the blanket around her. "Go with Ji-young." "Yes, but we have to be very quiet and move fast." Ji-young pulled out Jun's access card and went to the main control panel. She entered the code from the paper, then swiped the card. The screen flashed green. The security cameras were now on a loop, showing an empty medical bay. Next, she went to the containment field controls. This would be trickier. The field was designed with multiple safety features to prevent accidental release. She entered more of Jun's codes, her hands shaking slightly. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then the containment field flickered and disappeared. Minju stepped out, looking around with wonder. It was the first time she had been free since her rescue. "Come," Ji-young said, holding out her hand. "We don't have much time." Minju took Ji-young's hand. Her 6 fingers wrapped gently around Ji-young's 5. They moved to the door. Ji-young used Jun's card to override the lock and the door slid open. The corridor outside was empty. "This way," Ji-young whispered. "Section 4B is 2 levels down." They moved through the corridors as quietly as possible. Ji-young's heart pounded so loudly she was sure anyone nearby would hear it. But they met no one. Jun must have arranged for this section to be cleared. They reached the elevator that would take them down 2 levels. Ji-young swiped the card again, and the doors opened. Just as they were about to enter, they heard voices coming from around the corner. "Imperial officers. Hide," Ji-young hissed. pulling Minju into a small maintenance alcove. They pressed themselves against the wall, barely breathing. Two Imperial officers walked past, deep in conversation. One of them was Commander Tay. The specialists will arrive earlier than expected, he was saying. Their ship has increased speed. They should be here by 600 hours. That's good news, sir, the other officer replied. The sooner we resolve this matter, the better. Ji-young felt cold fear grip her heart. The specialists were coming early. They had even less time than they thought. Once Tay and the other officer had passed, Ji-young and Minju slipped into the elevator. Ji-young's hand trembled as she pressed the button for the lower level. Bad men coming? Minju asked as the elevator began to move. Yes, Ji-young said. Very bad men. That's why we need to hurry. The elevator reached the lower level, and the doors opened. This section of the ship was dimmer, used mainly for storage and emergency systems. Section 4B should be to the right, Ji-young said, trying to remember the ship maps she had studied. They moved quickly but carefully, checking each corner before proceeding. They passed storage rooms and equipment bays. Finally, they saw a sign. Section 4B, Emergency Medical Evacuation. There it is, Ji-young said with relief. Just then, an alarm began to blare throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Warning, announced the ship's computer. Containment breach in Medical Bay 3. All security personnel to alert status. They've discovered we're gone, Ji-young said. Run. They raced down the corridor toward Section 4B. Behind them, they could hear the sound of boots on metal flooring. Security teams were mobilizing. They reached the door to Section 4B. Ji-young swiped Jun's card and entered the final code. The door slid open, revealing a small room with a single escape pod. Get in, Ji-young urged, pushing Minju toward the pod. The pod was designed for medical evacuations, just big enough for a patient and a doctor. Its controls were simple. It was meant to be launched quickly in emergencies. Ji-young helped Minju climb in, then squeezed in beside her. She sealed the pod's door and started the launch sequence. Unauthorized launch detected, the ship's computer announced. Emergency override in progress. No! Ji-young frantically entered the final codes Jun had given her. Please work, please work. The pod's systems lit up green. The launch sequence continued. Launch in 5 seconds, the pod's computer said. 4, 3. The door to Section 4B burst open. Commander Tay stood there, his face twisted with rage. He saw Ji-young and Minju in the pod and pulled out his weapon. 2, 1, launch. The pod shot out from the Imperial ship just as Tay fired. His shot hit the closing launch bay doors instead of the pod. Ji-young watched through the small viewport as the Imperial ship grew smaller behind them. The pod's emergency systems had already activated its distress beacon, a beacon that would be picked up by both Imperial and human ships. We did it, Ji-young said, her voice shaking with relief and fear. We escaped, but they'll come after us. Minju, still wrapped in her thermal blanket, looked at Ji-young with her multiple eyes. She reached out and touched Ji-young's face gently with her 6-fingered hand. Ji-young saved Minju, she said. Minju, remember. In the small escape pod, flying through the darkness of space with Imperial ships surely in pursuit, Ji-young put her arm around the small alien who had learned her name and so much more. We're not safe yet, she said, but I promise I won't let them take you. The pod's systems beeped. A ship was approaching. Friend or enemy, they would soon find out. The escape pod drifted through space. Inside, Ji-young watched the approaching ship with growing fear. It was getting closer, its engines glowing bright against the blackness of space. Ship coming, Minju said, pressing against Ji-young's side. Bad ship? I don't know yet, Ji-young replied. She squinted at the small screen showing the approaching vessel. Then her heart leaped. It's a human ship. It's the Resilience. The pod's communication system crackled to life. Escape pod, this is HMS Resilience. We have detected your emergency beacon. Please identify yourself. Ji-young grabbed the communicator. This is Medical Officer Ji-young Kim. I have escaped from the Imperial vessel with the alien they were planning to kill. Requesting immediate pickup and asylum. There was a pause. Then Captain Wu's voice came through. Dr. Kim, your situation is complicated. The Imperial ship is demanding your return. They claim you have stolen Imperial property. She's not property, Ji Young said firmly. She's a person. Her name is Minju. She's intelligent and learning to speak. The Empire was going to kill her just because she's different. Another pause. Ji Young held her breath. Understood, Doctor. Captain Wu finally said. We are bringing you aboard. Prepare for retrieval. The Resilience moved closer. Ji Young could see its retrieval arms extending toward their small pod. Minju watched with wide eyes as the large human ship enveloped them. We'll be safe now, Ji Young told her. These are my people. They'll protect us. The pod was pulled into the Resilience's docking bay. As soon as it was secure, the outer door opened. Captain Wu stood there with a security team and a medical team. Dr. Kim, he said as Ji Young climbed out. You've created quite a situation. Minju hesitated inside the pod, still clutching her thermal blanket around her. It's okay, Ji Young said gently. These are friends. Slowly, Minju emerged from the pod. The crew of the Resilience stared at her with a mixture of curiosity and wonder. This is Minju, Ji Young announced. She is the last of her kind as far as we know. The Empire was going to kill her, but she deserves to live. Captain Wu studied Minju, then nodded. Take them both to the medical bay for examination, and put the ship on high alert. The Imperials will not be happy about this. In the Resilience's medical bay, Minju looked around with interest. It was warmer and less stark than the Imperial medical bay. The walls were a soft blue, and the equipment was less intimidating. Different, Minju said, touching one of the medical beds. Yes, very different, Ji Young agreed. She was exhausted but relieved. They had made it. The ship's chief medical officer, Dr. Park, examined Minju carefully. Fascinating biology, he said. And you say she's learning to speak? Yes, very quickly. She's highly intelligent. As if to prove her point, Minju looked at Dr. Park and said clearly, Doctor, help Minju? Dr. Park blinked in surprise, then smiled. Yes, I'm here to help you. The Imperials will demand her return, Captain Wu said, entering the medical bay. They've already sent a formal request. They're calling this a theft of Imperial research. Material. She's not research material, Ji Young insisted. She's a refugee seeking asylum that's covered under the Interspecies Rights Agreement that the Empire signed 2 years ago. Captain Wu looked thoughtful. That might work. But the Empire rarely lets legal arguments get in the way of what they want. A young officer burst into the medical bay. Captain, the Imperial ship is powering weapons. They're demanding we surrender the alien immediately. Captain Wu straightened his shoulders. Battle stations, raise shields. He turned to Ji Young. This could get very dangerous very quickly. I'm sorry, Ji Young said. I didn't mean to start a war. Sometimes standing up for what's right means taking risks, Wu replied. Stay here with Minju. I'll handle the Imperials. After he left, Ji Young sat beside Minju on the medical bed. I hope I did the right thing. Minju surprised her by taking her hand. Ji Young, good. Save Minju. The ship shuddered. The Imperial vessel had fired a warning shot. Warning, the ship's computer announced. Hull breach possible. All personnel to emergency stations. Dr. Park looked worried. If they keep firing, they could destroy the whole ship. The door opened again, and Captain Wu returned. His face was grim. The Imperial commander is threatening to destroy us if we don't surrender the alien. But I've called for backup. Other human ships are on the way. How long until they arrive? Ji Young asked. Too long, Wu admitted. We need to stall. Minju suddenly stood up. Minju, talk. Everyone stared at her. What do you mean? Ji Young asked. Minju, talk to Empire, she said. Her speech was becoming clearer by the hour. Show them Minju person, not thing. Captain Wu looked skeptical. I don't think Commander Tay will listen. We have to try something, Ji Young argued. Minju is right. If they could just see her as a person. After a moment, Wu nodded. We'll set up a communication link, but be prepared for the worst. In the ship's communication room, they established a video link with the Imperial vessel. Commander Tay's cold face appeared on the screen. "Captain." "Wu," he said. "Return our property immediately or we will destroy your ship." "Commander Tay," Wu replied calmly. "We have granted asylum to a refugee. Before you take further action, someone would like to speak with you." He motioned to Minju, who stepped in front of the screen. She had discarded her blanket, standing tall to show her full form. "Commander Tay," she said clearly. "Minju not thing. Minju person." Tay's eyes widened in shock. "It speaks?" "I speak," Minju corrected. "I learn. I think. I feel. Empire want kill Minju because different, but different not bad. Different, just different." The commander's surprise was visible even through the screen. "This changes nothing. The Empire's orders are clear." "Perhaps," said a new voice, "those orders should be reconsidered." Medical Officer Jun stepped into view beside Commander Tay. His face was bruised and he looked tired. "Officer Jun," Tay said sharply, "you have already been disciplined for your part in this escape. Do not make your situation worse." "Sir," Jun replied steadily, "I became a doctor to preserve life, not destroy it. This being is intelligent and harmless. Killing her would be wrong." "Your opinion is not," Jun interrupted, "something no Imperial officer would normally dare to do." "It's not just my opinion, sir. I've sent my medical findings to Imperial High Command. They have responded." He held up a tablet. "New orders, sir. The subject is to be studied alive, not terminated. It is to be treated as a sentient being under the Interspecies Rights Agreement." Tay looked stunned. "Let me see that." He read the tablet, his face darkening. Finally, he looked up at the screen. "It seems," he said stiffly, "that the Empire has reconsidered its position. The alien, Minju, is granted provisional sentient status pending further study." Ji Young could hardly believe what she was hearing. "You mean you're not going to try to take her back?" "High Command believes she would be better studied in a neutral environment," Jun explained. "They suggest a joint human Imperial research team, a research team that will respect her rights as a sentient being," Captain Wu added firmly. Tay looked like he had swallowed something sour, but he nodded. "Those are my orders." After the communication ended, the medical bay erupted in cheers. Ji Young hugged Minju tightly. "You did it," she said. "You showed them you're a person." Minju tilted her head. "Jun helped too." "Yes, he did." Ji Young smiled, thinking of the Imperial medical officer who had risked everything to do what was right. Captain Wu approached them. "We'll set course for the new joint research station. It's on the border between human and Imperial space. You'll both be safe there." As the Resilience moved away from the Imperial ship, Ji Young stood with Minju by a viewport watching the stars. "What happens now?" Minju asked. Her speech was smoother now, almost natural. "Now we learn from each other," Ji Young replied. "You'll teach us about your people and we'll teach you about ours." Minju was quiet for a moment, then she said, "Minju last of kind. Alone." Ji Young put her arm around the small alien's shoulders. "Not alone anymore. You have me. You have friends now." Minju looked up at her with all her eyes. "Because Ji Young gave blanket, gave name. Sometimes that's all anyone needs," Ji Young said softly. "A little warmth and the dignity of a name." As the stars streaked past the viewport, Ji Young thought about how a simple act of kindness, a blanket and a name, had changed everything. Not just for Minju, but for her too. And perhaps in some small way, for the cold empire that had ordered Minju's death. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Minju would never be alone again.